morning everyone, and happy Tuesday. It's week 9 of our garden tours, and it's been a couple weeks since we've gotten any rain. I've been doing what I can watering by hand, but it's actually been quite a while since I've had to tie up any of the tomatoes, so I know that their growth has stalled out a little bit, but part of that is probably due to the fact that they have a lot of fruits on them now, so the plants aren't only putting energy into growth, they're putting a lot of energy into all of this awesome fruit. We have had the local bird population come in and taste a few of these tomatoes, but it really hasn't been too bad. They haven't caused a lot of damage at all. You've probably noticed that a lot of my tomatoes are quite naked on the lower parts, and the nakedness extends pretty high up the plant. And that's because as I have noticed diseased leaves, such as this one, I have been taking them off. Now, this isn't going to be a guarantee that I can really extend the life of this plant very long, but this plant in particular has started to get diseased looking leaves kind of high up, and I'm a little worried that it's going to spread, especially when we finally do get some rain. Rain on top of the leaves generally is a good vector for spreading disease. So there's obviously a point where I can't keep removing leaves or it's going to be detrimental to the plant, but this particular one doesn't look super healthy anymore. I know in my last garden tour I talked about how I was picking tomatoes out of the garden in preparation for the rain that we were supposed to get to prevent their flavor really diluting out and to prevent cracking. We never actually got rain that day, and we still haven't. These tomatoes over here are called the black strawberry tomato, and they ripen with the most gorgeous colors. And then this cute little tomato here, this is called a tigerella. This was a volunteer that came out of my sister-in-law's garden, and I think they actually ripen red with yellow stripes. We'll get to see soon. The melons over in this U-shaped bed have really started to take off over the last couple days. I think they've really enjoyed the heat. On this side I have a Charante melon. It's a greenish skinned pink melon. It's a lot like a cantaloupe in flavor, and it's a very floral smell. I really love this melon. And then over here we have a Kajari melon, or actually quite a few Kajari melons on this side. And this one is a striped orange melon that is really delicious. The inside is yellow. Got some baby melons hiding in here. One of the things that I really love about melons and other rambling plants like sweet potatoes is they act like a living mulch. So not that you shouldn't mulch them, but they aid in keeping the soil moisture in and keeping the weed pressure down. Speaking of sweet potato, here they are. I've had a few June bugs make their way in here, but the kids have been coming through and helping me get rid of them. This is actually not weed. See, there's a little bit of damage, but nothing that these sweet potatoes can't handle. The cucumbers are another bed that's really taken off in the last little bit. Some of these are pickle bush cucumbers, and some of these are a white variety of cucumber. I forget the name. But it looks like they're thinking about putting on flowers, but nothing showing itself quite yet. Good old organic fruit. Growing up, my dad had a really giant blackberry patch. Those plants towered well above my sister and I's head. We would spend hours in that blackberry patch, getting all cut up from the thorns, but having really full, satisfied bellies, full of the sweetest blackberries. Fond memories for sure. We haven't checked on our Kuka melons in a little while. I'm sure there are plenty on. They are also known as mouse melons, and I think it's pretty clear why they are called that. And Kuka melons are really delicious. They taste exactly like a cucumber, but with almost a lemony twist. And I've been meaning to show you this, but I haven't had a good opportunity until now. So this is one of our lettuce plants, and it has bolted or gone to seed with all this heat that we've had. And I didn't get a chance to show you any of the flowers, but there are plenty of little seeds to behold. They look a lot like little dandelion puffs. I will say that different lettuce seed does present itself differently. You see that? A couple years ago, I didn't actually intentionally plant any lettuce because quite a lot of it just came back on its own from me letting a couple plants bolt and go to seed. So I've decided that not only do I know what our volunteer squash is, finally, but I think I know exactly where it came from. So around Halloween time last year, we took our kids to the Amish store and picked them up some little personal-sized gourds. The kids ran around with these little tiny mini pumpkins for months. They colored on them with markers and carried them around everywhere. Well, apparently one of those little pumpkins succumbed and ended its life in the garden and has made lots and lots of babies this year. So these haven't really gotten any bigger. They have gotten darker in color, and I've noticed that their skin is starting to harden up. So with gourds like this, or with squash like this, that are really designed to keep long term, you want to pay close attention to the rind of the fruit before you pick it if you're planning on keeping it long term. So one of the ways that you can check any kind of squash to see if it's ready for picking for long-term use is to look at the stem, and if there's any green in it, it's not quite ready. That means that the plant is still receiving nutrition from the vine, and we want it to get, I guess, as big as it can. And you can also do the fingernail test. So I'm going to just poke the face of the squash with my fingernail, and if it leaves a dent like that, it's not quite ready. I'm not gonna poke it super hard. I don't want to introduce disease into it, but I can tell that it's not really thick enough, so it means that it's not ready. Go eat grass. I love you. We actually have a volunteer melon that has rooted outside of the greenhouse. I guess maybe it's underneath the board there, but it's grown outside, and I have been trying to coax it to go in there. There's a honeybee in here. There's your home. Do you see her wings, how they're frayed and tattered on the outside? She very well could be nearing the end of her life. I'm just gonna set her outside in case she gets the energy to go ahead and fly home. Quite a few plants in the greenhouse need, oh man, I see some damage. You guys, let's see if we can find it. So I was actually just about to start to talk about how a lot of these plants need more support, but this here, this is tomato hornworm damage. So this is what a healthy tomato leaf should look like. And this is what they look like when they have been eaten by a tomato hornworm. And they're usually not too far. Oh, here we go. There it is. Look at that, he's huge. We are not going to be as nice to this guy. These things have seemingly come out of nowhere in the last, I don't know, week. They've just gone from nothing to huge monsters. This plant has really seen better days. It too has been ravaged by a hornworm, and I have not, there it is. Oh my gosh, guys, look at how big this one is. Holy smokes. Believe it or not, I was just in here, I think 2 nights ago, with my black light looking for tomato hornworms. I apparently didn't look hard enough because obviously those 2 huge worms had to have been in here 2 days ago and I missed them. So I'm gonna come back tonight. Let's see, there's even evidence down here. This is hornworm poop. There's some right there too. Look, right under the evidence. Even I'm gonna sacrifice a couple flowers and get this guy off. Look here, there's some hornworm poop. And then this one went after some fruit. Look at that. This is actually our first summer growing in this greenhouse, and I knew that basically as a first-year garden space that this space was going to present some challenges and our yields from the greenhouse may be limited. I have been super thrilled with how things have gone so far, and this is just another hurdle to jump over. These tomatoes aren't bright red, but I am gonna take them off. They've started to ripen, so they're pretty much done growing and they can finish ripening indoors. Yeah, some of the more peachy ones I'll leave on. Heaven forbid I leave any of these on and then one of those jerk hornworms comes in here and eats a nice, pretty one like that. Here's a really little one. I mean, they get smaller. Man, guys. Well, we've got a nice heavy haul of tomatoes for all of our sweaty work today, but I'm gonna wait for the sun to go down completely and then we'll be back out later with the black light. This should be interesting. Look at that. See how bright it is? Bright little blue boy there. There's 2 right here. One there. One back there. And this is a pepper plant. They seem to get really huge from eating pepper leaves. This looks fresh to me. Oh, there it is. That's why it looks fresh to me. Look. I was out here last night for quite a long time, trying to be as thorough as possible about getting these guys taken care of and out of the greenhouse. And clearly, some hornworms, big ones, were unseen and left behind. When growing indeterminate varieties of tomatoes, they have a different type of growing habit, and it's easier to see all parts of the tomato and to inspect them with the black light. But these types, it's a really, really dense foliage. They seem to be handling disease quite well, but it makes a really hard find when you're looking for tomato hornworms. See all that hornworm poop down there? Somewhere up here is a very well camouflaged tomato hornworm. Right there. Yep, so I think I'm gonna have to pull out some of the big guns if I want to save our harvest in here, which I do. This has been a lot of work and I don't want them eating it all. So, because clearly the black light and hand picking hasn't been enough in the greenhouse, I'm gonna bust out the big guns. This is an organic pesticide called Bacillus Thuringionesis. And I've had these bottles for a couple years. I don't like to use this very often because even organic pesticides, they don't discriminate. And being that this product attacks larval forms of any insect, my main concern is that pollinators will come across it, bring it back to their hive or their nest, and then their brood will be affected. I think because the tomatoes are essentially done flowering right now, and I've never actually seen a bumblebee on the tomatoes, I feel comfortable putting this on in order to save our harvest. It's not going to be very scientific what I do. They make little puffers so that it is easy to apply. You can put the powder inside like a stocking or nylon socks and dust the plants. I'm just going to give this a sprinkle over and give the plants a good shake and let it all kind of fall down. So because all the plants in the greenhouse are under cover here, any rain that we might be slotted to get later, which we desperately need, won't be washed off of these plants. And hopefully we can get a good handle on these nasty hornworms.